The fight to get President Obama's nominees confirmed by the Senate has been a wily one so far. As we have discussed this hour, it looks like Iraq veteran helicopter pilot Tammy Duckworth will finally get a vote for her proposed position in the Veterans Administration after North Carolina Senator Richard Burr lifted his mysterious objections to her. Important appointees like the ambassador to Iraq, the top legal eagle in the State Department, the new head of the Office of Legal Counsel, that office that wrote many of the infamous torture memos during the Bush administration, all these appointees are still being held up in the Senate. So far, the highest-profile nominee to survive dug-in Republican opposition is Hilda Solis, the nation's first Hispanic American to head the Department of Labor, herself the daughter of two immigrants whose work lives included union activism. Remarkable, I know, a labor secretary who actually purports to support labor. I know. The confirmation of Secretary Solis is historic and really politically important, not just because of who she is, but because her department, roughly the department for people who have to work for a living, it's the department that makes sure the government is looking after not just the executives who sign paychecks at the end of the week, but the employees who cash them as well. At a time like this, we need that department to be super heroic, to be better than it's ever been, to be staffed by people in capes and tights if need be. This year, we'll probably see a political fight over the most important labor legislation in a lifetime, the unfortunately acronymed EFCA, the Employee Free Choice Act. That would make it easier for people to join unions. An important defection from EFCA by Blanche Lincoln, the conservative Democratic senator from Arkansas. She defected from EFCA yesterday. That does make the legislation less likely to pass. And, of course, this year we'll probably see the very worst job market in a lifetime as the economy sputters along on very expensive life support. Unemployment is up to 8.5% generally. It's up over 11% for Hispanic Americans. It is over 13% for African Americans. Joining us now, not in a cape and tights, but still, is the Secretary of Labor, Hilda Solis. Madam Secretary, thank you so much for joining us.
How are you, Rachel? It's good to be here.
I'm great, thank you. When you look at these horrible job numbers, 5 million or so jobs lost in this recession already, do you worry that if and when those jobs do come back, the new jobs might not be as good a jobs as the ones that we're losing now?
You know, I am very concerned about this unacceptably high rate of unemployment. It is something that we just can't stand by and allow to continue. We're doing everything in our power, the president, myself, and his other cabinet secretaries, to make sure that we get the stimulus money, the Recovery Act money, out into those communities that have been dislocated. Think about it, Rachel. We're talking about since December of 2000 that 5 million jobs have been lost. Many of these people, for the first time, are losing their homes. They can't pay down their rent. They can't send their kids to school. So many things, factors are affecting them. But we're doing everything we can to make sure that education and training, those programs get out there immediately, and especially unemployment insurance benefits get out to those dislocated workers. And I can tell you right now that we haven't stopped since I've been there, and I've only been there now for 5 weeks.
I wonder about this issue of underemployment, of people working fewer hours than they want to be working. I know that the average number of hours worked per week is at a very low point right now. We know people are working multiple jobs because they can't find full employment with just one job. What does the Labor Department have to do with that, issues like that are about the quality of the types of jobs that people are able to get?
Well, one thing I want to tell you is that we have just made a major modification to unemployment insurance. It's called the Modernization Act, actually, to allow for people that have had their hours reduced, or say they had to leave a job because their spouse moved or something like that, or even women and part-time workers will now be eligible for an additional benefit through this Modernization Act. And some states have already begun to change their laws so that they can receive this money. In fact, New Jersey has come on board. Today, I also spoke with Connecticut, the governor there. So we're having, I think, some good opportunities where some of the governors really understand the immediacy of getting this money out to all of their dislocated workers, particularly those that are in that niche that maybe have seen a reduction in their work hours and may not, under normal conditions, be able to draw down unemployment insurance. And it's been set up especially for those people that have had their hours cut back, or they're part-time workers, and many who happen to be women.
What do you think about those Republican governors? It has just been Republicans who have done this, who have wanted to not accept federal money to extend unemployment benefits in their states. A number of governors have made big public stands about that. What's your opinion about that?
You know, I'll be honest with you. I am delighted that for the last 2 weeks, I've been making calls with Democratic governors and Republican governors. Today, my call was with the governor of Connecticut. And she was telling me that just today they were also extending a provision in their law so that they could draw down the full amount of unemployment compensation benefits that we could provide to them through the federal government. So I don't look at it as, Republican or Democrat. We got to talk about people. We got to talk about those dislocated workers and those families that urgently need this help. That's what the public needs to be focused on. That's what we, as policymakers, as politicians and folks that are out there, we need to be careful and mindful of those people that have been going through this hardship for the last 2 years.
In terms of the Employee Free Choice Act, people who support that act keep expressing confidence that it will pass. All of their public statements are very, very positive. But we have seen a little bit of erosion in the Senate, which is where the votes really count right now. Senator Specter, Senator Lincoln, both now saying they will vote against the legislation. I, from here, don't imagine that there are enough votes to pass it. I wonder if you think it will pass and if the Department of Labor has a role in promoting that legislation.
Well, the President and I are on record in support of this legislation. I, as a former member of Congress, he as a former senator, but he continues, as I do, to believe that this is a good bill and we would hope to see it pass.
Madam Secretary, just one last question. I know you've been on the job for, as you said, about 5 weeks now, just a little bit over a month. I have to ask, it's got to be a big leap from the House of Representatives to the cabinet. How has it been? How are you doing?
I'm excited. I just can't tell you how thrilled I am about the opportunities to do good things for our country, particularly dislocated workers, our youth, those hard-pressed communities that have seen their job losses, trying to provide increased protections for them in the workplace, and OSHA in wage and hour. Those are areas that I think the American public is really will start to see some changes, and I'm very, very delighted and hopeful to be a part of this administration to see that agenda move along. That's what change was meant to be in the November election, and now we have to implement that plan and that agenda. So I'm just excited, Rachel, and it's a wonderful opportunity to be here with you.
Secretary of Labor Hilda Solis, thank you very much for being on the show. I really appreciate you taking the time.